Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I think we all know who I am, but for those in the room, at least for those listening at home, my name is Jacob Neiman. I'm the Complete Streets Director for the Township of Montclair. I started in the position back in January, and so this is my first Oversight Board meeting as the chair of the board. We're going to start with a very rough call to order, as this is an open public meeting. And we are going to do our best to comply with the Open Public Meetings Act. That means we're going to make sure the door is open. Our meeting was advertised on the township website where those notices are posted, and the link for the web conference was shared publicly, both on the township website and the township social media. So thank you, everyone. I'm going to do a quick roll call of the membership. Mayor Baskerville,
Present.
Deputy Mayor Shin Anderson.
Here.
We have Councilor Birmingham.
Hello.
Also representing the council, Director Talley.
Here.
Director Ashley.
Here.
Township Engineer Hernandez.
Here.
Sergeant Karen Dang.
Here.
Amy Beach. And we are missing one public member, as there is an open seat. And so we'll get to that later in the agenda. Thank you. We have no minutes to approve because there were no minutes taken from the last meeting. We have no resolutions to approve. No old business. So this is how I'm generally going to structure the meetings. I'm taking a lot from the planning board, so thank you, Janice, in structuring these things. And so I want to start with both retroactively approving the last meeting's calendar and this meeting's calendar, as well as our future meeting dates. Those were all emailed to you publicly. They're available in paper here, and I'm also happy to send them out. The meetings will be scheduled for the second Tuesday of the month, all the way through December.
You mean Thursday.
Oh, Thursday, sorry. Second Thursday of the month, all the way through December. That's in keeping with the past practice. Meetings will be at noon and here at the conference room. The meeting date and time was originally chosen in the previous membership of the board, or most of the current membership, but under the previous chair. I just wanted to make sure that still works for everyone. We still think this is a good time for us to meet, and it fits with everyone's schedules. Wonderful. I'd like to move to accept the annual notice of the meeting schedule for 2026.
So moved.
Good afternoon. I'm just wondering if you're going to solicit feedback from the people online, or if anyone's paying attention, because I had my hand raised. I just didn't want to interrupt, but I saw nobody was looking at the screen. I'm sorry, this is Councilor Toller.
No problem. Yeah, we do intend to solicit public comment. Public comment is on the agenda. And so that'll be available to anyone who wants to speak.
Okay, I'd like to make a recommendation for these meetings that you're scheduling in the middle of the day. Will there be any late night meetings, or have you decided to build in any evening meetings throughout the calendar year, just so that the public has an opportunity to participate? Have you decided if you're going to do 2 or 3 a year or anything like that before you approve this current calendar? I'm just curious if there are going to be any evening meetings for this board, which will allow the public to be part of the conversation.
So the board meetings are currently all scheduled for 12 noon. The board meetings are not the only opportunity for folks to be involved and engaged. And I've got some discussion in our discussion of the bylaws that I think will touch on that and increase the opportunity for the board to both reach out and meet with residents and stakeholders, while also making sure that the regularly scheduled meetings work, are consistent, right? It's helpful to have a consistent meeting time for any sort of, and so we'll also have the opportunity to do special meetings in the evenings if needed for particular areas of concern. But one of the ways I see incorporating public engagement outside of the normal meetings is subcommittee meetings that will have the flexibility to meet residents and stakeholders where they are in like a literal and metaphorical sense. So meeting after hours and evenings so folks can stay involved that way, or meeting on site in particular locations of concern. That obviously is open to discussion of the board. That's part of the bylaws that we're going to be discussing, and so that's just my opinion as chair.
So I think we still need to take action on advertising the schedule.
Right, we've got a movement and a second on advertising the schedule.
Mhm.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstains? Thank you. The second matter for new business is the proposed bylaws, and this is where I hope to have some discussion. So the board is obligated under the Complete Streets Ordinance to create bylaws, which will govern how the board operates. Bylaws were included in the agenda packet for your review, and copies have been distributed on paper in the meeting room here. There's a couple of key points I want to touch on, but I'd also welcome other thoughts. I know Austin had some feedback on the bylaws, and so I want to make sure we all contribute here. Again, thank you to the planning department. I pulled from the HPC and the planning board and a little bit from the town council in pulling how these bylaws work. I think the key pieces from my point of view in operations are the ability to set up subcommittees. I see subcommittees as a really valuable tool for engagement and completing the work of the board without forcing us to use only the monthly meetings to get things done. If we're only meeting once a month, it's going to make it really hard to make progress on some of these issues, but it's also hard to get 9 people in a room with greater frequency. So I kept it broad on what those subcommittees could be. I don't want them to be too many because it just becomes untenable with the membership. But I thought there were 3 key areas that the responsibilities of the board cover, and I think they could be fit well into subcommittees. A subcommittee focusing on policy and project development. So thinking about what projects need to be created and what policies need to be implemented for us to be successful as a township in completing and incorporating the Complete Streets policy. That's going to involve the focus on policy development, making suggestions, going out and visiting sites and saying, like, look, how can we improve this street, this intersection? An analysis and review subcommittee that's going to be looking at what we have done and how we can improve, whether that includes things like updating the checklists and making sure they're working for all stakeholders and that they're incorporating the Complete Streets policy appropriately, making sure that the projects we've created and implemented have been having the effect that we want. If we find that putting in a stop sign or a traffic light is not improving things, where did our process fail? How did we go end up with a solution that didn't do what we wanted to? And how can we improve going forward? And then the last piece is community engagement. This, I think, is really important and is going to focus on engaging with stakeholders where they are. It's going to focus on going to meetings with the schools, with NJ Transit, tabling events. We want to be out in the community because Complete Streets will not be successful if the community doesn't feel invested and involved. And that goes from the south end all the way up in Montclair. This is a township-wide policy with township-wide goals. And if we don't engage everyone, it's just not going to work. And that's not acceptable. I also see subcommittees as being open to general members of the public. I don't want those to be limited to members of the board. One, that provides us the opportunity to share the work. There are so many folks in town so excited to work on these sorts of projects. Let's take advantage of that. It also makes sure that we're getting even more perspectives. Any given board, you're going to have only so many people able to contribute. That's not our favorite thing, but it's necessary. And by opening up those subcommittees to other folks, we're going to be able to get more involvement, whether that's from the mayor and council or other members of the mayor and council who aren't necessarily able to be at a board meeting, or just notes on member participation. And that's part of the bylaws and how we're going to incorporate that. I want you all to send me things for the agenda. If you have concerns, thoughts, anyone can submit something to the agenda and we'll get it on there to the best of our ability. As long as you get it to us like by Tuesday before the meeting. We want to have a little bit of time to do enough work to make sure we're giving the item its due time and not just throwing it on there without being aware of what the concerns are, what the needs are, what the issues are. And so I really want to encourage members of the board to send that. I know some folks have long lists of concerns and issues throughout town that they want to have addressed. Like, great, we can talk about them. Send them my way. We'll get them on the agendas when we can. Then I also have a section on public comment and participation. Modeled that after the council. It's 3 minutes for members of the public, as well as members with the discretion of the board and chair to allow for longer periods of time, should that be necessary for the person, the individual presenting. And then the last thing is on board action. I think generally we're going to work from a place of consensus building and collaborative frameworks, but there are going to be times where we need to take action. We need to put a formal opinion of the board on paper. I intend to do that via a resolution that'll be written up and then approved at the next meeting of the Complete Streets Oversight Board. Those will be distributed beforehand for edits and thoughts and clarification. But those are kind of the key parts that I thought were necessary to discuss here. But you've also got those bylaws there. I'm happy to, if folks feel comfortable, accept these and vote on them today. Or if you'd like some time to review, we can put it on the agenda to adopt them at the next meeting.
I have one suggestion about
Yeah.
I would just say that the 3 committees that you mentioned here should be identified as standing subcommittees.
Sure.
Under 1.4 right here. Just write that these.
Just put them in as standing
That way
subcommittees.
we all can reference it.
Sure.
The standing subcommittees and add a statement that it may include members of the general public. That
Sure.
way we know what we're doing.
Please, can you just give more information about the subcommittees in regard to community input? So
Yeah.
you said that people that are not on here
Yeah.
can be on them. So when the report comes back, the individual that is here will be present to report it, and they will be not here, the general members of the public that went out with that subcommittee, or how does that work, in terms of reporting back to this group?
Reporting back would be at the prerogative of the committee itself, right? And so the subcommittee itself. And so if that member would like to come along and be part of that process, that's great. If the subcommittee decides they'll all come and discuss, that's great. But if they decide to delegate to one individual, whether that be a member of the board or just a member of the general public, that's fine too. They're able to report back so long as they have the consent of the subcommittee, however they choose.
So is there a limit? Because then we're shifting the entire landscape of the group that we decided was a good size to work with. So is there a limit to the number of people that can be on those committees? I'm just trying to think now in terms of getting work done at these meetings, right?
Yeah.
When we discussed what this group was going to look like, took a lot of communication with many people.
Of course.
And then there was, a size that people thought was pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out, so now if 2 subcommittees need to report and maybe they have 5 people each, so you add 10 people to the meeting and on top of this, and I want to know what that does in terms of getting work done that may be on your agenda. I'm just trying to think forward.
Sure.
I mean, it might not be a problem. I'm just wondering because that does shift things when your numbers change.
Yeah. So
I kind of, I'm wondering if we can get a little bit more direction in the bylaws.
Certainly.
About, for instance, should the lead of each subcommittee be a member of this oversight board?
Yeah.
How many individuals, what's the maximum that we, and I don't know, maybe we all think that we don't need to have a number maximum for each committee, but I think if the goal is to have these subcommittees be actually like working committees and bring them back, I am thinking that the chair of each subcommittee should be a member of this Complete Streets Oversight Board. And I'm just wondering if we could put some thought about how are we going to make members of the public aware that this oversight board is establishing these working committees and solicit interest forms or, what have you, and things like that. So.
Okay.
I would like to, in addition to what the deputy mayor said and what I said previously, I would like to suggest that the number of people on that subcommittee can be up to whoever chair that subcommittee is. I would think that that person should definitely be a member of this body, and I would like for that member to come back and to share. So if, say, I decide I want to be chair of something, I might want to meet a couple of times and have a lot of different meetings. Maybe I need 10 people, maybe I need 7, 3, whatever that number is. We're going to get notes, hopefully, so I want that in there. We'll get notes from the subcommittee meetings, and then the chair of that meeting, who will be a member of this body, will come back in and appropriately share that. I don't think that, for me, I just don't think that we have to have everybody, all at one time trying to come here. I think it'd be great to have the chair come and represent.
Okay. Any other thoughts on subcommittees? Okay.
I agree. I would just say I agree generally with the mayor, but I also agree that the more people involved, I do think we need people to really feel like they have a stake in this.
Okay.
And, just looking at this list here of the high injury network locations, like this spans the whole. Also includes the non-council, and this is where we're gonna need a lot of places. So I agree, we don't want it. But I think more people involved.
I would be,
I
this is
agree
Deirdre
with what
Carter
You
speaking,
said.
and I
Hold on
would
one
I would be very willing to be on a Greenway subcommittee for development, Greenway Development
I'm sorry,
Subcommittee.
what are we doing here?
Sorry, Ms. Karcher. Can you do it again? The connection was cutting out.
I typed in what I was saying, but I would be willing to be on a Greenway subcommittee.
Okay. I would just suggest we've got a public comment section of the agenda coming up at the end, and that'd be a great time to discuss that.
Okay, I thought you wanted to talk about subcommittees, and so I thought I'd make a suggestion for a Greenway Development Subcommittee. That's all. All right, thank you.
Gotcha. I appreciate it.
He is. That's what he just said.
Okay.
Okay. I believe, Mayor, you were trying to.
No, and I totally agree with what our counselor said there.
Great.
The more involved, the better. There's a lot of energy behind this, and I think we ought to do everything that we can to let everybody understand that they're equal stakeholders here. We're all partners here. Yes.
Okay. Wonderful. I'll update the bylaws section. Please feel free to review them and send me any other notes on them, so I can make sure to incorporate that. And I'll have an updated version sent out before the next meeting for you to review. And then hopefully we can move and adopt the bylaws at the next meeting.
I assume once we adopt the bylaws, then you would go through the organization, who's the chair, the vice chair.
Exactly.
The recording secretary.
Well, so yes, and the organization was established for anyone who has questions. There's a space for a recording secretary and a vice chair. Those are right now optional positions because the
Okay.
ordinance only lays out that there will be a chair.
Right.
If anyone would like to volunteer, we're not going to say no to any assistance, but those are for anticipated future filling.
Okay.
Someone already mentioned the county streets, and I'm just wondering, I think it might be a great idea to have a county coordinator of this subcommittee here.
Okay,
And
like a county coordination subcommittee.
someone like that go-to person for the
Okay.
county streets. And I would like to volunteer.
Should we consider the idea of adding, having someone from the county assigned to one or more of these subcommittees?
I'd be happy to have that.
I think maybe like, I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
Analysis, project development, that might be a good one.
Okay.
How about, I know the county would be very involved with us in terms of the local safety action plan and
Yeah.
local safety action plan implementation, because our plan is really a
Right.
supplemental plan to the
To their
county. So maybe if we make LSAP implementation a subcommittee,
What's the
And you-
LSAP?
local safety action,
Oh,
which is what we're in the process
Yeah.
of developing.
Mhm.
And make that's where we can really link with the county.
Yeah,
That's very
definitely. Yeah, yep.
And I want to be clear that I do see the subcommittees. I see a role for some standing subcommittees, but also more task oriented, right?
Yes.
Local safety action plan is a relatively time limited project right now that we're working on. And so that doesn't necessarily exist 10 years from now. But while we're working on that specific project,
Well,
it's
maybe-
necessary.
Right, but it's not just the plan, it's the implementation.
Right.
Because we're gonna hopefully be implementing that over the
For
next 10 years.
long period
So
of time.
where are we in the short term, long term, and
Right.
midterm implementation
Mhm.
phases of that plan?
Yeah. But I do see a role for standing committees, but then also more task oriented because everyone has different things they get excited and
Yeah,
enthusiastic by.
yeah.
And so making sure to meet folks where they are, much like the Greenway Committee that was suggested by Ms. Parcher. And so that's what I got for the bylaws. Great, thank you. I wanted to just take a moment to touch on the vacancies of the board. The board is currently down one public member, and obviously we're still more than able to function, and that's fine. That being said, only members vote, and so we're missing a seat at the table. I'd really love to have that filled, and I'm sure mayor and council will do that soon. And then mayor and council participation. I know it's being handled somewhat ad hoc right now. That's fine too. If you come up with a process though, just let me know what that process will be and inform the board so that we can understand and make sure to include whoever needs to be included on anything that comes up. And so that's kind of the administrative stuff that I wanted to cover. I want to go back real quick to kind of center and ground the work we're doing, because we're coming up to more of the specific projects and plans that are coming up. In starting this job, I kind of dug into the history a little bit. I reached out to the History Center to see what they had on streets, whether it be photos, documents, whatever. And in 1909, the wizened wealthy of Montclair paid a guy, John Nolan, to write a report on how can we make Montclair the greatest city, town in the world. Like, what does it need to truly be a wonderful, beautiful place? This is at the peak of the City Beautiful movement, where there was a real interest in public art and public beautification. And there was a lot of complicated stuff there, very paternalistic, but the report is fascinating because it shows that what we're doing now has been a concern in Montclair for a very long
You
time.
do know that the plan was never adopted.
I do know that.
It was determined to be way too expensive.
They shot for the moon and, you know, they tried. But there's a quote I pulled, and I think it's really important for us to keep in mind, that town improvement centers on the streets. The street ramifies everywhere from the heart of town to the remotest corner, and nothing can atone for its inadequate or inappropriate development. Every decision with regards to the street is important. Its location, its width, its subdivision, its grade, its planting, and its fixtures. And with but few exceptions, these decisions concern the general public far more than the individual or group of individuals who happen to reside on the particular street under consideration. Therefore, the settlement of these matters, it would seem, should rest in public hands, and the decision made primarily with regard to the public interests. But in order that the public may be effectively served in street making, some official must have not only large knowledge, but large authority. That's what we're doing here. We're the officials with large knowledge and large authority, and we need to think about these streets as real community assets. I reached out to the tax map engineer, and about 17% of Montclair's land is within the public right-of-way. if we had 20% of town that was undeveloped and sitting there underutilized, we would be talking about it all the time. And we'd have a lot of concerns and thoughts about what we should do with it. And obviously we're talking about streets, that's why we're all here, but I don't think we're talking about it as much as if we had 20% of our town that was undeveloped. And so I really want us to think about that right of way in those streets as the real public asset they are.
You want the 7?
Yes, please.
Oh, thank you.
I am slightly out of order. Okay. No, that was correct. Sorry. I want to give us a brief update on the Safe Streets for All Local Safety Action Plan and the demo projects that were decided on in our recent meeting. So for those listening at home who may not be aware, Montclair Township received a grant to develop a local safety action plan in coordination as a supplement to Essex County's local safety action plan. That plan is being developed by Michael Baker and Mercer Planning. And as part of that plan, we are doing demonstration projects to help us as a township understand what interventions may work, and also to demonstrate for the public and engage with the public on street safety. The stage of the project we're at is multifaceted. So in the packets that were distributed and can be shared, there's a draft prioritization matrix. That's the color-coded thing you've got. And that is the list using the prioritization matrix developed of the most high-risk streets in Montclair, the ones with significant amounts of injuries, crashes, and characteristics that make them risky to drive on, walk on, bike on. That's a mix of both county and municipal roads. And so obviously it's a lot easier for us to focus on municipal roads. And so that's going to be kind of not the priority, but a focus of a lot of this demonstration project work and what Montclair is hoping to do.
I think that they took out the county road.
Oh, that one took out the.
Just,
No, this is
No, that's a-
Orange Road, Elm
you have a
Street.
There's
different-
two
Yeah, this one
versions.
has,
Oh, okay.
Sorry, there is one version. There's a single page version that's just municipal roads.
I
And
printed the wrong one.
I thought I didn't. I may have sent that. I didn't realize I sent that out.
I think I had. printed-
That's a separate document that details the data behind the local safety, the measurements, what they've said. And then I've also included a couple of maps that detail the stretches of roads in Montclair that they are concerned about as well. And that's both the high-risk network, the high injury network, as well as their priority projects, both municipal and county.
So can I ask a question?
Yeah,
about
please.
this? So just for everybody's benefit, the color-coded one says the total risk score is based on crash frequency and severity, and so this is all, the prioritization is based on reported crashes.
It's reported crashes, but it also considers factors such as underrepresented communities and various road surface conditions and factors. And so like
Excellent.
a wider road is a higher risk road. And so that's incorporated into the plan. Traffic generators such as schools,
Exactly.
transit,
Excellent.
houses of worship are all
Worship,
incorporated
yes.
into that as well. And so it's not just looking at the injuries and crashes that have occurred. It's also looking at the things that could potentially cause accidents or crashes, injuries, and how those are kind of,
And they're all weighted
Yeah.
too.
and they're weighted to account. As you can tell from looking at that list, there's nowhere in town immune from these concerns, right? Everywhere in Montclair has real areas of concern, real high risk wrecks. And so it's really a focus all over.
One question, this was
Ye-
collected, the data was collected over what time period?
The data would have been collected, I believe, 2018 to 2022
23.
or 2023. Thank you, Janice.
Okay, so this doesn't include some of the work that we've been doing already.
It doesn't include some of that work, yeah, correct. And so it has some of the work, has like the work that was done on Bloomfield Avenue, but only for those last, I guess, year and a half. They
So
were done in
it's a 5-year average.
Yeah. Township roads, it wouldn't have that. Yeah, so like the new stop signs on Claremont, for example, are not accounted for.
So I just have a quick question, like noticing regarding the rank and the numbers
Yes,
and the map with the numbers.
there's two different maps that have numbers. One is county and municipal, and one is just municipal, I believe.
Okay, so the map with the numbers, is it, like, just looking at it briefly, it doesn't look like the numbers are matching the road. So I'm wondering if, for example, rank number 1, it actually, on this number map, it's Watchung. Whereas on the list, on the Excel file, it says Bloomfield Avenue.
Is that, hold on, let's
So
see
I-
what map you're referring to.
I just want to, like,
The
make
pot-
sure we're looking at the,
You're talking about the potential project location.
So this
prior-
is,
right, so this is the, I was assuming it's listed by number here.
yeah, oh, so
I didn't even know.
this is
One and
potential
here I see
projects, and so that's this
Where's one on this?
Still-
list.
Oh, here it is, okay.
This is Bloomfield Avenue.
One up
That-
here,
I
it says
think-
Watchung
I think
Avenue,
it's
number
different.
1.
Yeah.
And that will be tied
Mine
to
says
the
Watchung.
local
Yeah,
safety action
Okay.
plan, so I think it might be premature.
I'll
to
reach
be-
out to
Yeah, so
Michael Baker.
If you could just make sure we have one that matches.
Yes.
Because I kind of went through it and it's, the numbers are off.
Are off.
So that, yeah, that's just,
Okay,
that's completely different. The project prioritization list is separate from the,
The actual project.
from the,
Like, this
that's,
is the high injury network and it doesn't have numbers on it.
right.
right, there's
yeah.
no numbers.
Right.
So
right.
it's apples and oranges.
Okay, well, but I think my big question was, like, on this particular list, it's hard to distinguish where on the roads they're identifying. So I was really excited when I saw the map with the numbers, because I thought that was.
It's on, I think it's, if you look at the high injury network, that's the map that you need to look. No,
But
there's
it
no
doesn't have
numbers.
numbers, but she was
It's-
thinking that you can do that, and that would be helpful.
This shows, because it's not a particular location, I believe it's from point A to point B on the
But I get
roadways.
your point.
Okay,
Yeah,
So-
and
Yeah.
I
It
do
would be
think
helpful.
the Michael Baker list, it's saying, Bloomfield Avenue, 0.6 miles or whatever. It doesn't identify it well. The way the paving plan, for example, goes through and says from street A to
right,
street
right,
B,
exactly.
that would be easier
It's a lot
to,
Mile
easier to
post.
do.
yeah, and it's milepost numbers, but those aren't necessarily useful in, like, I don't know the
That's where
milepost
you-
numbers.
That's where you look at the map. and
Yeah.
The map will tell you where they're measuring it.
Yeah.
But the point that she's bringing up, I think would be helpful if we had another map.
Yeah.
That would have those
That actually
numbers.
matches those.
Those
numbers.
numbers,
right?
yeah.
The gauge is really, mile point 6.2 and 6.7. And if you're just looking at it, it's hard to know, like, where on the map that actually road is.
Good point.
Let's see, I think, let's take a test, like Claremont Avenue.
Oh, you got a question.
It shows you the different, it's basically all of Claremont Avenue falls within this orange category. Okay, it's the entire length that's considered a high injury network.
Person who asked a question, I'm working on pulling it up. Sorry, did someone ask a question?
I had one,
Oh, I thought you pointed at the screen. My apologies, Ryan.
and it was related to the priority list.
Okay.
When they did the analysis, was it total accidents, or did they take out accidents that were proven to be driver-related, driver behavior?
I believe it was total accidents. I don't know that they,
I see a distinction, an accident due to street not being wide enough versus driver behavior.
yeah.
And that's why enforcement did public safety rule in, and they extracted those that were driver behavior as opposed to just.
I'll reach out to Michael Baker to clarify whether they did that. I do know, though, one of the key principles behind Vision Zero is that it's harder to disentangle those things than we'd like them to be. And so the design of a road is going to impact how someone's driving on it. And so driver behavior could be impacted by that. So I'm not sure if they're going to inherently pull out something that says, like, for example, excess speed, right? That could be driver fault. For sure, the individual is going too fast, but how does the road design impact that? I'm not sure how they parse those. And so I'll reach out to them for clarification.
Well, that was my concern.
Yeah.
Once again, if the road allows for that, it's the driver's determination whether they're going to speed.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll have them a series of public meetings where they'll come out and present this information. Be able to give you the in-depth, the public, the in-depth answers.
I see you trying to sneak numbers.
Okay, so that's what I've got on kind of the big picture. You have all the documents. I'm happy to meet with anyone to discuss offline too, what's in this. I really see these meetings as the rare opportunity for all of us to get together. And so meeting in between them is great, and I want to do it. I always meet with Austin and Roberto, for example, and Michael to discuss before the meeting, so we're not in here. I want us to come here to engage and gather from each other what we can't otherwise get, not to, look at fresh eyes. And that goes for the public too. I'm happy to meet with folks and meet them where they are too. The demonstration projects that are part of the SS4A are all throughout town. There's 3 of them, and there's one at a signalized intersection, an unsignalized intersection, and there's one corridor project. The signalized intersection is right outside here at North Fullerton and Claremont. The unsignalized intersection, which means something without a traffic light, is at Cedar and High Street, just outside Nishwain School in Nishwain Park. And then we're doing a corridor project on Park Street. Those projects are currently undergoing environmental review by the federal government because we have to have that done. And the goal is to have them in place for the spring so that we can take that data and move with it quickly, because a key part of the demonstration projects is data gathering and taking a look at these intersections and seeing how did driver behavior change. We want that to be done in the spring so we can move quickly. If they aren't able to be done in the spring because environmental review takes too long, we are going to wait till the fall because the summer is not necessarily normal traffic patterns. We want to understand, especially with Cedar and High Street, where you're right outside of the school, how these projects are going to impact day-to-day travel in Montclair. I'll go through each of those briefly. The North Fullerton and Claremont intersection image is right there. It's going to involve some painted curb bump outs, some temporary bollards, some daylighting and parklets outside of Paper Plane. At Cedar and High Street, there's a similar sort of treatment being done with painted curb extensions, temporary bollards, speed markings on the pavement saying slow down, marking out the school zone, and discussion of some sort of gateway treatment. So they, for an example, put the Montclair M, I think, and I'd like to explore possibly incorporating the students of the school into that. Maybe we can get them a bunch of temporary chalk and they can do an art project on the street. Like, I think that'd be awesome. It would really engage the community, the students, and it'd be a heck of a lot of fun. And so that's something I think could be really cool with the caveman treatment. Yeah. Get them. Every kid has to draw their own dragon, right? I think that's the Nishwain mascot. And then along Park Street, it's a planned bike lane. It's one lane on each direction for about 0.6 miles from Lorraine to Gordonhurst. It doesn't touch the county roads to avoid any issues with that. It's going to include in coordination with the bike bus, pavement markings. They're going to work to get helmet donations and then do some bike safety tutorials as well. They're going to do other speed reducing pavement markings and some temporary bollards. These were all adopted at the last meeting. The specifics of this layout, I know there have been some concerns about. We are in a difficult spot with doing anything different than one lane in each direction because of the painted yellow median line. You're not able to, for a temporary project, force cars to basically drive illegally, and to put both lanes on one side would not allow enough space to keep to one side of the yellow line. double yellow. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry you're gonna get to this, but
Sure.
while we're at the Michigan school area,
Certainly.
is there a reason that we went to that location? I get the school is there, but also at the corner right down High, Urban, and Orange Road, where we have, more accidents than anywhere else in that part of town.
Yeah.
Is there a reason why we went up the hill and not down to where the real problem, right down there where everybody goes into that?
The issue is.
Yeah, right there, right, just wondering.
Yeah.
Orange County.
Yeah.
Oh, because you wanted to stay away from the county. Yeah, you
Correct.
said that.
Yeah,
You
the-
said that.
So
Okay.
for those listening at home, the demonstration projects, to
Yeah.
ensure they could be done as quickly and reliably as possible,
Yeah, you
we're
did.
limited to municipal roads.
Okay,
And
okay.
so
Because
we are fully aware that there are a lot of
Okay.
county roads,
Okay,
Orange being one of them, that have very real safety concerns. But to
Got
ensure
it.
the project was able to be effective, we
Got it.
stuck to municipal streets
no,
for
that
the
makes
demonstration
sense.
project.
Yes, thank you.
Of
I'm sorry,
course.
And you did say that.
Can I make one comment on the Park Street? And
Yes.
I'm not exactly sure vis-a-vis parking and how that's gonna go, but can I just make a plea that when you do the analysis, that you include the road further towards Watchung, because that Park Street is a road where people are speeding.
Mhm.
There's no question about it.
Yeah.
And the new traffic light there, they're also sort of speeding into that light.
Yes.
So
Wow.
can I just really make a plea that when you do the assessment of any intervention, include that?
So I think that's something that we brought up with the consultant,
Yeah.
but their concern or restriction was they could not touch the county road. They want to stay as far away from that as possible to limit county involvement. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
that's why
I
they
think-
stopped
I think
short.
what
But we share the
Counselor-
same concern.
Yeah.
I think just if they're able to do the analysis over a longer time, they may not have the same treatment on the road, but if they're able to just account for what the speeds are, that may be.
Yeah.
Like when I guess the concern could be
We're
that you
doing
put a
Yeah.
bike lane in.
Yeah, we're
Like the concern could be you put a bike lane in and cars are going slower and then they get to the end of the bike lane and they floor it, right? Like, so you need to look at the whole
Yeah.
strip, right?
Yeah.
Which does, Gordonhurst to Watchung, not that far, but
Yeah.
we still need that. We need to make sure that we are accounting for that.
yeah.
Because, and then just back to what you said earlier, that like anytime you put an intervention in, you really should be assessing the impact. And the Watchung Avenue traffic light, for better or worse, and this is what we still really don't know, has caused, there's been a big impact in that area, and this is where we need data.
Yeah.
To figure out, is it good or, or where there might still be risk.
Yeah.
Is the concern with that intersection with now coloring to get the light?
Right, so because there's there's a crosswalk right here, and people are coming down Park and making a left into the Watchung crosswalk. And we know that left in the intersection for one of the more dangerous. Right?
Yeah.
And it used to be when there was a full stop there, somebody had to stop and then proceed, which wasn't still optimal, but now there's a traffic light, so they see green and they see go, and there could be somebody in that crosswalk,
Yeah,
and they're
I've seen
making
it.
left
Yes,
into it.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
and we've heard it,
Yeah.
And so I just, that intersection makes me nervous.
Yeah.
I will just say that, and I want to just put it out while you're doing this.
Yes.
That there's some thought. And I know you're thinking about it, but I just really want to put that out there.
We've also heard complaints about stacking, cars queuing a lot longer than they used to when that intersection's red.
You mean from Park or?
Along Park, Park
Yeah.
north of Watchung.
Wow.
Yeah, it's made a big change,
Wow.
and
Yeah.
that's where it's like we need to
Wow.
assess.
And maybe the county, can change the timing of that signal and
Yes.
to reduce the
She's
queuing
saying
of traffic.
Oh, yeah.
Problem is you have the Watchung signal and then you have the North Fullerton signal
Yeah,
right there as well. So
Yeah,
but on Park, you don't have like,
they're locked in
it's
there.
a lot.
yeah.
All right.
And that's something that the county can do. I mean, it's a county
They
light.
should do,
They
right?
can change the timing on the signal.
Should ask them to see it.
Any other questions or thoughts about the SS4A as it stands? You have a lot of documents to look over and examine. Excellent. I'm gonna keep us going. And this is, yeah.
The Park Street, that's a green.
No, it's until it rains.
Because it's gonna be chalk.
Yeah, it's
The lines are
basically,
chalk that goes,
it's basically chalk, and so it'll be there. If it doesn't rain, it may last longer. I know, for example, the temporary flexible bollards are from NJTPA, the North Jersey Transportation Planning Agency, I think is the technical, the A. And so they're gonna need them back. They'll take them back when they need them back, but the paint is gonna be there until it rains.
Just to clarify too, the board's aware, people on the call are aware too, during that period, parking will be, whatever that is, it's 2 days, a week.
Yeah.
That period is
Because
on both sides.
it's a bike lane, and you're not allowed to park in bike lanes, and so.
You would temporarily post that for you determine amount of time with it.
I think we probably, let's see what the weather's gonna be like before we figure that out.
Okay.
Sorry. Prior to the implementation, obviously it's going to be,
Yeah.
the public is going to be made aware of what these
Yes.
are, what the purpose,
Yeah.
how long, you know.
We're gonna make, the consultant wants to make it into a community engagement effort.
Yes.
Engage
A
the community
Yeah.
so that.
Yeah.
And, I'm just putting this out there, I don't know if we can coordinate it, but on May 6th is Bike Walk to School Day.
Yes, national.
Across the country. And also on May 16th, there is a Montclair event, Porch Fest, which will be happening. And I think both of those together kind of really, it'd be really nice if we could lean into that and create like an infrastructure for
Yeah.
biking.
Yeah. Yeah, and to the point about community engagement too, the corridor project in particular has those bike safety tutorials that they're working with the school. They're gonna work on helmet donations. So that's very much, all the projects will engage the community, but especially around the corridor, there's a lot there. And you know, this goes back to Complete Streets only being successful if it is a community supported project. And so we very much want everyone to be involved. We also know that like not all of us live everywhere in town. We live where we live or we work here. And so we don't necessarily have the same knowledge. And so it's really valuable to have that public feedback. Continuing on the trend of the infrastructure and asphalt, I sent everyone out the proposed paving plan. It is a draft. It is very much, if DCS and engineering got their unlimited pot of money, what they would want to pave. I think everyone knows that that is not available to them. And so I wouldn't expect all of these streets to be paved. Correct me if I'm wrong, Austin and Roberto and Mike. But I wanted to highlight a few parts of it that I think we should think about and consider. And I may have some proposals to do. At any point, Austin, Roberto, Michael, like hop in, feedback, thoughts. I pulled out the streets where the paving plan overlaps with the high risk, high injury network. And there's a number of spots where that's the case. Claremont, Harrison, Orange Road, specifically the municipal section. When I refer to Orange Road, I'm going to be referring to the municipal section here. Llewellyn Road, Cedar Avenue, Maple Avenue, Pine Street, and South Mountain. So that's where we have a clear overlap with our areas of prioritization. Now, there are other pre-existing areas of concern, I called them, where we've had either resident concerns, council member concerns, staff concerns, or proximity to big traffic generators. So those I have North Fullerton, right at Claremont, where we're doing a demonstration project. So if we're doing a demonstration project and going to be paving the road, like we've got a great little overlap there of now's an opportunity to really think about and focus on this intersection and put in the interventions so that we don't have to do them later after we freshly paved a road. We don't want to cut into fresh pavement. Central Avenue is on the list of paving projects, and that has not been a specific area of concern that I've experienced, but it intersects Chestnut, and it's pretty close to the high school. And there's a lot of students who walk over to that stretch on Valley Road to get lunch, get food, snacks, whatever it is. And so while we're in the area, putting in some interventions there could be a really good way to do a bit to change that intersection, make it safer for everyone going in and out. Amy?
I just want to add on the school caregiver surveys that we did at the end of 2024. That was a huge point of issue and concern for families going to Ed Fund.
Okay,
So there was
Central
a-
Avenue?
Central Avenue.
Okay.
Yeah, right at Central Avenue. and
All the
Valley.
way
So
to
I would say absolutely, like, if we could focus on that, I know that's a major
Yeah.
concern.
Okay.
There's that crosswalk that's very.
Yeah, you're kind of right around the corner
And it sort of bends around.
and cars don't stop.
Yeah.
They sure don't. It's sad.
Wildwood Avenue, there's been a number of resident concerns about just traffic calming. It seems to be a street where people go pretty quick. I believe the urban SDK data backs that up to some extent, that it's a pretty fast road. And then Mayor, to your concern about the intersection of High, Orange Road, and Irving, we're limited in what we can do on the county road, but Irving is on the list of repaving plans. And so on the Irving section of that, if we're able to do some valorization or curb bump outs or some treatments there, it may help that intersection a little bit. And so we're not able to play with Orange Road, the big road, but if we can do something on the edge there, it may have an impact still. And then additionally on the paving plan, there are some roads that are tied to some projects in kind of the planning stages, for lack of a better word. And those are Cedar Avenue, Harrison, and Orange Road. I know the township had applied for and didn't receive a grant to install a bike lane on Harrison and Orange. That doesn't mean the township has abandoned that concept and thought. And so if we're going to be doing such a big intervention, I think making sure we think about them holistically and together rather than just mill and pave what we've already got and then do the bike thing, maybe pulling it aside and giving it our full attention will make both of those a better project. And so
When did they apply for that and what the reason for denying it, specifically on the Orange Road side?
Grant was applied for July of last year. We received notification in November, no, actually in December, sorry. It's just a very competitive grant. I think there was only 10 or 11 applications that received funding throughout the entire state under that program.
Okay.
So it's limited number of funds. That was the reason that was given.
Okay.
And so these were the streets I wanted to pull out and make sure we focus on and perhaps give added attention to as part of the milling and paving, repaving process this year. And so I know from talking to you and Austin and Michael that you'd rather pull those out, have them to the side and work on them kind of separately from the streets you're going to just do a normal treatment to. And so I'd like the board to discuss, like, do these feel like the roads to pull out and focus on? Are there other areas on that paving plan that we'd like to give attention to? I want to open the floor.
I think we're doing an engineering for Maple Avenue, so you gotta add
Yes.
that.
Oh, yeah, that's kind of on both, because that's on,
Yeah.
Maple is on the prioritization.
Yeah, well, you've
And
got
so I've
Cedar,
gotta-
you've got Cedar and Harrison on both, but you
Yes,
didn't add the Maple.
Maple. That's a good catch.
Theater, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I just have one.
Bless you.
God bless you.
Question. I think these are all great. One thing that just jumped out at me as well is the Lackawanna Plaza.
Yes.
I feel like just going back on the data that we compiled, that Jeanette compiled for us. If you look at the number of pedestrians and bicyclists that have been hit at that intersection, Lackawanna Plaza, Gates and Bloomfield,
Mhm.
there's been 5 people.
Oh, wow.
So like, I would really
Yeah.
like elevate that as well. Even if we look at doing something like a
But that's
pedestrian
another,
crossing.
that's a gateway, that's a county,
Bloomfield is county.
it's a county road.
But if we are looking at the Lackawanna version of it, right? Like, it's going up towards the Glen Ridge.
It goes towards Glenridge Avenue.
We are also, just so that you know, we're also doing engineering for a bike lane on Glen Ridge Avenue.
Yeah.
So that intersection of Lackawanna and Glen Ridge is part of an engineering study that's being done right now.
Yeah.
So part of that part will be addressed.
Okay, because I just feel like that crosswalk, if you're crossing the Lackawanna Plaza on like you're the street that's on the municipal side, it's a really long crosswalk. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that, again, I think that falls within the county category, but we can certainly reach out to them.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the only other thought I had on the
I
Lackawanna
mean, I
Plaza,
think we already did a bump out there too, when, yeah,
well, there's the taxi stand, which is kind of a bump out.
yeah.
Uh,
To reduce, we did a bump out, I believe, to reduce the.
yeah. And I pulled out Lackawanna Plaza too, because it is an area where there's a lot of work that's gonna be going on, Glenridge Avenue, the cycle track, and then obviously Lackawanna Plaza, the redevelopment, and so just making sure it makes sense to pave it before it is then used for a lot of construction. But in talking to Austin, Roberto, and Michael, I think that's a long enough time frame that it may not be something we can wait on. And the condition of the road is not necessarily in such.
The biggest thing to consider too is, we're
Which road
discussing
are we-
street safety.
Lackawanna Plaza.
We also
Oh,
experienced
yeah,
a really
yeah,
harsh
okay, yeah.
winter.
Yep.
And this list was really before we got hit with the snowstorm. So once we are not drowned in snow anymore, we'll have to revisit those lists, and that may change streets, but that may not be on this list, may need to be added on because it may not last another season.
Right.
You'll start seeing that next week, as soon as the temperature drops, that the ground will release and we'll have potholes.
All over the place.
Everywhere.
Yeah. And just to be clear, because like once you pave a road, cars are tempted to drive faster.
Yes.
So you will have in place like what your traffic calming or you'll have that ready to go. once
Yeah,
it's paved.
so the idea is, and tell me, how this fits. The idea is to pull out these specific roads because they require that sort of engineering. Whereas for a general mill and pave, if you're putting back exactly what's there, it's very straightforward. You go to the contractor, you say, mill it, pave it, put it back as is. Because we need to do special engineering to come up with plans, bollards, whatever the goal is, that's why we're pulling out these specific projects and saying, this is gonna be our focus, and these are where we're gonna have those new interventions. That's the point of the pulling them out, to develop those. So prior to the paving happening, we have them in place so they can be handled.
And can I just say one, Austin, I know we've talked about this, but when we're coordinating with like PSC&G and utilities, if there's anything that we can do in our ordinances to strengthen the idea that when they do any work, they need to do full repair, please let us know. Because I know Westfield did something where they've now got PSC&G are repairing like tons of their roads. So if there is anything that we can do, please let us know.
Can you send me whatever Westfield's ordinance is?
Yeah.
Because that's something I've looked into
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, it's just, like, I know you coordinate, but there might be ways we can tighten our ordinance to make them pay.
Right.
Like where I live, they've been doing a lot of replacement and now there's a whole bunch of patches, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and that, then we get holes because they're, the ground's not level. And so anyway, we can look at that and then,
Awesome. Does anyone have anything else for the paving plan?
Can we reach out to you if we do see other things?
Please, yeah.
To Justin.
Yeah, I always, and that goes for the public too. Like Jay Neiman at montclairnjusa.org. Send me everything you got, because I really want you have a lot more ability to see all the problems than I do as one person. And so I want that information. I want to know these things, these concerns. I've got printed copies of the plans for Upper Mountain Avenue. Norberto can give a little more background because he developed the plans. These are a grant-funded project from NJDOT. It's gonna incorporate a pretty novel intervention in Montclair, chicaning. The general idea of chicaning is when you can go long and straight, you go fast. A chicane forces cars to basically change their pattern of driving a little bit with the intention of causing them to drive more thoughtfully and slowly. And so the Upper Mountain Avenue project is going to incorporate some chicaning and then some speed humps on a separate section as it approaches the county-owned section of Upper Mountain Avenue.
There's
I got it.
there's no
No,
road
it's
widening, is there?
No road widening.
Um,
Okay, yeah.
You probably want all the
That
notes.
would be very expensive.
Yes.
The Cliff Note joint, yeah.
But we are replacing the curbs.
Yeah.
Which,
Yeah. I'm sure engineering has very big versions of the plans. I also sent everyone out the digital copy. It was, because it was so big, it was in a OneDrive link, and so it may have been more challenging to access, but I review the plans. If you have thoughts, concerns, I think chicaning is a really good option for a lot of our roads, because a lot of the problem is basically our roads are long and straight. And the plus side of the chicaning too, especially as it's done here, is it does incorporate parking still. So you're not taking anything away from the residents. It'll change the side of the street that parking is on in some circumstances, but it's not materially impacting the ability to park on the curb up there.
It basically shares the parking, because right now it's only allowed on one side.
Exactly. And so you can incorporate that in a lot of different ways with chicaning. The one thought I had was, I think, especially if we're doing curbing, finding a way to bump out some of these intersections to really just make the crosswalks and the intersections as narrow as we can, I think would be helpful for just everyone. And so I know there wasn't as much of that incorporated, but that would just be like my
Is the
one.
chicane painted, or is it, it's just done through paint? There's no,
There's flex posts
and
too.
delineator posts
Okay.
along that, so cars just can't straight
Okay.
physically.
no
That's
humps
very-
and no curbing to create the chicane?
No, that would require additional drainage and reconstruction of the roads. So it
Okay.
wouldn't be within the- We'll see, we'll see how this, if it works and it's effective, and, Mountain Avenue needs to get redone again,
It's a pilot.
we can, it is, it's a very new idea, something not really been done before in Montclair.
Yeah.
But we're excited.
And Upper Mountain Avenue is a remarkably busy road. It
Oh, yeah.
has, through the data we were able to pull, it's almost comparable to Bloomfield Avenue in the number of cars it services, and it's about half the size. And so it's kind of remarkable.
Are you adding speed humps?
A few at the northern boundary.
Past,
Past
yeah, I see past
Bradford.
Bradford.
At that section, it's not as long and straight as Jake had described with uninterrupted section. There's a lot of intersecting streets there. You can't really have the same effect with the chicaning. We felt that was, if there was going to be speed humps anywhere on Upper Mountain Avenue, that would be the one section where it would make the most sense and not be too disruptive, because there is still a high volume there. But as you're approaching the signal and you're coming from or into the county line, I think that's a good point to just make
How about
drivers aware
over,
that this is different.
how about a speed hump over by the tennis courts and the Iris Gardens? I know there's one by the pool right now, right?
Yes,
Mhm.
that's in the county section.
Oh,
We're not
okay.
working on
All right.
Yeah. We will be doing some work over there as part of the Mountainside Park project. Be adding some ramps and improving some of the crossings there as part of that project, but that's in the future. This is not
Okay.
included in this.
Can we incorporate in part of that work some streetscape improvements as part of the
As we get
other
into
than the apron?
design, as we get into the design, we can look at that. I mean, usually there's just funding,
So you're talking about the Mountainside Park
Mountainside
project, as
Park.
a not part of this?
not part of it.
Because where does, I'm sure, all right, where does this end? I'm trying to,
The jurisdiction of the township ends about 300-ish feet north of Jerome Place.
okay, I see that.
That's where actually this road actually widens out, and that's where the county line is.
Yeah, just to echo the reverse thing, all things are possible given the funding.
Yeah.
Be mindful of all things.
So the one thing too, just so the board's aware, not totally related to traffic safety, but this will impact counselors and obviously the mayor, just based on feedback received by residents potentially. As we may all know or not, the township generally has been replacing all the concrete curbing with Belgian block curbs. We tried to do that here. The state said no, because Vermont Avenue is located within a historic district. They view the concrete curb there as historic.
And where's on that?
Upper
Mountain.
All of
Mountain
it, all of it?
now, isn't it something?
No, but granite is historic
I was gonna say that,
material,
I would
not
think just the opposite,
concrete.
right? What do I know?
This
I will
is,
read you
this is
directly.
SHPO
Wow.
said this?
Yes.
Isn't that something?
This is the email I received
That's
from
really unusual.
Erin Hendrickson, who's
Wow.
in the Historic Preservation Office. In the past, our office has determined that installation of a modern material, such as Belgian block in a historic district where that material did not historically exist, is an encroachment and does not meet the Secretary of Interior standards for the treatment of historic properties.
Wow.
Wow.
So they want concrete,
So
poured
because
concrete.
concrete
form.
curb has historically been there, they view it as historic. So we can only do in
Okay,
kind
Zainab, you
replacement.
got that?
They didn't
This
go
was all
back
news to
far
us.
enough
It
in
was
their history, that's
shocking.
all.
No, the original ones were actually granite.
Huge.
You look at the
chunks of
huge
granite.
pieces
That's why I
of
said they
granite,
just
not
didn't
that
go
we-
back far
Yeah.
enough. That's
rather
right.
than the little pieces of
Huge
granite.
chunks of granite.
So can we appeal? them?
Yeah, I mean.
That's-
Is there a
that's-
supervisor?
There is a
Talk to your
process.
manager.
There is a process, which says here, undertakings that do not meet the standards are heard by the Historic Sites Council and gubernatorially appointed Board of Preservation Professionals who meet every other month to review applications pursuant to the NJ or HPA and make recommendations to the Commissioner of the DEP. The Commissioner can then approve with conditions, temporarily deny or deny the application, and the Commissioner has 120 days from receipt of a technically complete and professionally sufficient application to render a final decision.
I have a suggestion, Zainab. Can we ask the Historic Preservation Commission, who has an excellent relationship with SHPO, to work with Norberto and take the lead on this? If it's the opinion.
And just so anyone listening, because there's always been controversy about like, oh, are Belgian blocks like expensive, et cetera. But my understanding is that they become easier to replace. You can
Yeah.
just replace a portion of them when they become damaged.
Right.
Versus the whole strip. And so like snow plows that
Yeah.
might damage occur. So I think that's just another aspect, because people think, oh, why are we putting it here? That was a talking point.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
because, Yes, people are
It's just-
questioning the.
But it is like, you can replace just a square of your damage.
Yeah.
Versus having to do the whole.
And so long-term, it's as cost-effective, if not more so, because
Right.
you don't need to
Right.
redo the entire thing.
That sounds like a good idea to have the hours.
Yeah, I was gonna say, they probably won't love concrete, and so they'd be great people to
Yes.
engage on this.
We do not think it would be an issue. So we were trying to meet the state's deadline to award the project in November, which we met, but because we had to meet that deadline, we did get out the plans with the concrete curb. If we can get an appeal approved and allow the Belgian block, we don't think it would be an issue with the contractor as far as, because it is different material, but pricing is generally the same on that side. It's just a timing issue now.
So
If
we
we
need to
decide
do
to,
that.
if we decide to pursue the appeal process, we're looking at probably 4 to 6 months minimum, just to get their decision on what to do with the curb.
Is there a timeframe we have to act on the grant? Or is it,
Well, the hardest deadline we met, which is awarding a contract to the contractor. So now it's a construction process. We do have some time on that. But we're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place here, because we want to get the work done, because ultimately it's a traffic safety project as well. The sooner we can get the curbs in, the sooner we can pave, the sooner we can stripe. So delaying it 6 months probably may put us out of the paving season when it comes time to. We are also doing some minor drainage work as well, which.
So I didn't mean.
No, it's just more delay as you put the pipes in the ground. you need to let the ground settle over at least a couple month period before you mill and pave. You don't want to mill and pave right immediately after, then you have a sinkhole. Now you got to dig it up again. So there's a lead time here, but critical factor here is, I guess, the board. Do we want to pursue the appeal process or follow the state's recommendation requirement to maintain the historic concrete?
They make a distinction on the concrete curbs because the oldest curbs, the concrete curbs with that metal.
They did not.
And then the newer curbs are without this.
No, they did not. That's another.
Those are the older ones.
Yeah, and those are the ones that are out there. They have the
And
iron.
Yep.
Strip will come right down.
The tire,
And
they
there goes your
they punch your
So to be
tire.
clear, we did not include that.
Yeah.
We just have the modern
Tire.
concrete curbs. No, no, they're not requiring us, but that, they just want the material to be concrete as opposed to engine block, which is.
So how do we, what would be the quickest way to get this?
Well, I think we'll reach out through our HPC. When's your next, you have a meeting next week, is it, or this?
We do, but I can talk to Kathleen.
I talked to Kathleen
Yeah.
because she takes things and
Yes, and if
she's a
Yeah.
strong advocate. So we bring this to her attention. She'll get on the phone with Shippo
okay.
and say, what were you thinking?
Yeah, I know she will.
I'm sorry to interrupt this. It's been really enlightening and productive. I really welcome Jake.
Thank you.
And thank you. I do need to leave. And I think Counselor Toller has some questions that she might want to ask. Can I just say, all the council members get this?
Yeah, I
This is
emailed all
great.
of them.
Okay.
But I can
great.
also have packets here at
And
town
is it
hall that they can
online
pick
for
up.
the public? yet,
Um,
or that's coming?
I'll talk to Matt about getting
Okay,
it
awesome.
online.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you all.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Arlene. See you later.
Great.
Good afternoon.
Thank-
Thank you. I have to leave because I have to attend a doctor's appointment, but I put my questions in the chat.
Okay.
If Jake, you can get back to me.
Certainly, Councilor.
The other thing is, advocating for wards is crucial. We just listened to Councilor Birmingham, who was at the table and part of the board, advocate for Watchung Avenue and safety precautions needed. And there is no representation for other people to, there is no chance for other people to do the same. I would like to add Orange Road and Pleasant Way. There's no crosswalk there, but it is a bus stop. Okay, so if we're going to do some advocating in these intimate meetings here, we need to make sure that everyone is allowed to have a voice. And Jake, if you can please respond to my questions at a later time. Like I said, I put them in the chat. And I just want to reiterate, one of my questions really piggybacks off of the slide that you presented from the History Center. Within that quote, it says, should rest in the public hands and the decisions made primarily with regard to public interest. So let's just keep that in the forefront. We have to find a way to bring the county into this board and this discussion, because many of the issues in the fourth ward are on county roads. And what I'm hearing is, oh, it's a county road, we can't do much. Then this isn't going to work for the fourth ward. We have to find a way to bring the county to the table, to this board, so we can have these discussions and get some of the much needed work, repairs, safety measures, traffic calming, bike lanes needed. We can't keep listening to that it's a county road and then nothing gets done. So I'm begging the board to please consider adding a county rep to the table, as well as considering to have some few evening meetings to ensure full transparency, equity, resident participation. 12 noon on a Thursday is not going to work for the majority of the community. And, if you guys can find a way to add a few evening meetings, that would be appreciated. So again, I look forward to your response. Thank you for the meeting today. And I think that's all I have. I did not mean to really jump in front of your public comment section, but I do have to get to a follow-up appointment. So thank you.
Understood, Counselor. Thank you for the questions. I'll make sure to respond to all of them and also take your notes from the chat. And I think all of us at the board agree, I know I do, that the county is a vital partner in all this. And I don't want to ignore county roads. I think there was a lot of discussion about our limits on county roads, because we were
Right.
talking about specific projects that for specific reasons couldn't or wouldn't incorporate the county roads. That being said, they are not ignored. And they really are a priority, because as you can see in the documentation from the safety action plan, they're some of our most dangerous roads. They're some of the roads we have the biggest problems on.
Absolutely.
Not,
And
not
it is-
only that, at the beginning of the meeting, I suggested that we have a separate subcommittee to deal with that. So I
Yeah.
don't think
Yeah,
anybody is
I heard that,
not,
Mayor. I
doing
heard that, yeah.
So,
I respect that, but one of my questions is in the chat there, and I understand subcommittee, but I'm just wondering how the subcommittee recommendations will be prioritized for implementation, because a subcommittee isn't a vote, a subcommittee isn't a voice, and it will be up to this board to prioritize. So I'm just curious what the plan is. If you do form subcommittees, how will those recommendations be prioritized and then implemented? 'Cause
Certainly.
in my opinion, if you're gonna have a subcommittee with no teeth, then we're still not gonna get any work done.
Yeah, of course. The subcommittee recommendations are going to also be aligned with the prioritization metrics. One of the key things the ordinance lays out is that a prioritization matrix needs to be put into place to ensure that projects are accounted for fairly and equitably based on what we see as the need. And so the subcommittees are going to go through that same process that any other project would. And so it's going to work that way primarily. Yeah.
Okay, we'll see. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Counselor.
This is the draft county.
Is that- I was gonna ask
This is
you
the
about
draft
that, yeah.
local, county local safety action plan, which I don't know if we have time to talk, but
is that
Jake
here
distri-
today?
he distributed it to all of us.
Before.
I
Was that
I
earlier?
believe that
When
would
was
have been,
distributed?
that may have been
The
an
last
email.
meeting?
I have a copy in my
Oh,
office I can
okay.
grab,
That's
but
a draft.
Just to make
It hasn't
some-
been adopted.
It has.
I don't believe they've adopted any of it.
Oh,
And so,
It has Field Avenue and Grove. Street.
yes, that is my next section. If we're good on Upper Mountain, if there's any other thoughts, concerns. Okay.
I just, thoughts and concerns, like regarding how the subcommittees are going to be represented. We talked at the beginning of the meeting a little bit about that. I don't know if we need to talk any more about it with the group, because we said
Oh, yeah.
that the person that's going to be heading that will be a member of this group. And so that person will be responsible for getting back all the information. There will also be notes we talked about that will be shared from the meeting. So I'm just trying to find out, I don't get what the lack of representation is. I don't see anything so far that leads me to believe that there'll be lack of representation from the public or lack of
Sorry.
opportunities.
Sorry, Mayor.
Oh.
If you could leave that door open, please. Thank you. Yeah. It's an open public meeting. Got, understood. Mayor, totally understand. I'm gonna work through the subcommittees in a lot more detail in the bylaws, and I'll distribute that to folks for their review so that for the next meeting, it's a lot clearer. I'd also appreciate feedback prior to that meeting so I can incorporate those changes or if anyone has thoughts. So I think we'll lay all of that out in the bylaws, and that's where we'll kind of flesh that out.
Yes, thanks. No, but I
Of
just
course.
want to thank you, because at the beginning of the meeting, I thought that you did a wonderful job of laying things out regarding that and leaving it open, that we had more work to do on it.
And I want to echo that I think it was very well laid out, and want to be clear, the role of these subcommittees, which are an offshoot of the Oversight Board, and that you also did say at the beginning of the meeting that, there are going to be other opportunities for public engagement.
Yes.
Throughout the process of all of these.
And that goes beyond the subcommittees. That's me
Yes,
as an individual
exactly.
going out in the community
Correct.
and as the Complete Streets Director and meeting folks where they are. I'm planning to hold
Absolutely, and you
essentially
do that
office
all the
hours.
time, whenever anybody calls, and you do it just like that, and I just like to thank you for that.
Of course, I'm planning to be holding essentially office hours throughout town so folks can come and meet me where I am. I do want to move us a little forward on our agenda. We're at about 1:30 to the county SS4A plan. The county draft SS4A plan, Safe Streets for All, of which our local safety action plan is a small piece of. I don't have printed copies. I apologize for that, but I will note there are 3 township roads that are noted on the plan.
When did you send this? Is it email?
It would have been probably about a week ago,
Okay.
maybe Friday. Number 6 on the plan and 6 is a ranking, it's a prioritization, is Bloomfield Avenue from Hartley to North Mountain Avenue.
And I see what they're proposing a variety of
Interventions.
They're calling them countermeasures.
Yeah.
To address the issues of
And-
Bloomfield Avenue.
In talking about
There are
these
many.
with
There are
Norberto
many,
and
yes.
Austin, there is, specifically for the Bloomfield Avenue section, some concern about the fact that they've already implemented a number of those changes in that the recommendations specifically made.
You're
And so,
right.
for example, new traffic signals, those were just upgraded. That's not something that's necessarily
And-
needing to be changed.
We did daylighting, we did curb
Yeah.
extensions, we did improve street lighting.
Yeah, and so there's a lot that's already been done. I don't think that means we ignore Bloomfield Avenue. I think that means we need to see what they're planning to do beyond that. So one of the things called out is, I think they call it intersection hardening or median hardening, where they put a physical barrier at intersections to force people to turn more square. They discussed doing a road diet. I think those are some really healthy, good options, but we just want to make sure that they don't look at their plan, say we did 90% of this and move on.
I
Well, they
think
also
the
include-
problem stems back to they're looking at old data.
Yeah.
So that is correct in the sense of that was the issue, recommended solutions to the issues with that data set, which has been already implemented.
Yeah.
Since, so,
But it's interesting, they're looking at hardened center lines.
That's, yeah,
Which
which
is,
the county will, like, already know, because they told me, no.
Why?
where you can't make a left-hand turn, correct? Because people do it all the
We asked
time.
them, we asked them to install, or even allow us to install, those plastic delineators by the Whole Foods.
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
and
exactly.
They said, no,
The county said
the
this.
county
That's-
engineer said,
Oh,
Did
yeah.
they say why?
they said they do
Well,
not do
now
that.
it's it, but it's in their plan, right? Their plan calls for the hardened center lines and reconfigured intersections, which I think is the opposite of what the county's telling you. If it's in their plan,
Yeah.
for this section of Bloomfield Avenue,
yeah.
Are
And
there-
opportunities.
Are there ways for us to kind of like lean in on this?
that's,
And
that's
kind
what I
of-
want to
It's like, how can
When's the
we?
public hearing?
Yeah. This is one of those things, because I have similar concerns about the work they propose on Grove Street, both from a scale perspective and the sorts of countermeasures they're taking perspective. I don't think either of them is enough and necessarily appropriate. They're better, but they're not enough. And so I think this may be something perhaps at the next board meeting, we'll work up a resolution, solidify what we think is
Absolutely.
good and or bad and should be changed, and pass a resolution at the board saying, we've reviewed the draft plan and we feel these changes are good and warranted, should be changed, whatever it may be. But I'd like us to think about doing
Yeah,
something
if you
like
could
that.
distribute to the members of
I will.
the board, particularly those 2 pages.
Yes, I had meant to do that, and I
Instead of the whole
apologize for
thing.
not doing so. And that'll go up with the documentation for the public,
Yeah.
the same as the rest of it.
Do we know if these hardens are, I just wanted to raise the point that, I mean, what I'm hearing, and what I'm sure all the other councils are hearing is, we can have all the improvements that we can, but there's infractions. I mean, some people just don't abide
Yeah.
by, and so I think enforcement is something that we really haven't talked a lot about. But, and I'm wondering if these hardened,
Well,
whatever, dividing lines help with.
What would be a great idea, because actually what you're seeing here is going to be what our local safety action plan
Yes.
looks like. And I think we need to do an evaluation of what these countermeasures are, so
Yeah.
we can understand it.
Well,
Because they're going to be proposing the same things for our streets. So what is a hardened, is it a physical barrier? Or is it just, it's not
I don't know. I'm not
delineators?
It can be.
So
It can
the
be
plan
a
actually
delineator, it
does
could be a
have a
concrete island like they have
descriptor.
on,
It goes through what each of the countermeasures are and describes them.
Okay.
Beyond that, though, so also included in your packets was this spreadsheet. And this is basically the list of possible interventions that Michael Baker developed. And some of them apply for all intersections, some of them are more corridor-based. I would like all of us to go
Where's
through
that?
this.
That's this one right here.
Yeah.
Okay, great,
And-
thank you.
You know, especially Austin, Roberto, Michael, go through the ones that we think are most effective, most useful, or the ones that are going to be really challenging, right? So they recommend traffic circles in some circumstances.
Well, they define a hardened center line as a speed hump.
I know, yeah, it's a weird.
Hardened center, it's a speed hump at intersections to extend the center. I don't understand.
Yeah. So if you all could go through the interventions they propose and like share your thoughts, I think
Yeah,
they're all for the most part good, but I want to know the particular concerns we may have
Yeah.
about some of them.
they basically want to say what will work and
Yeah.
what won't work in Montclair.
And they want our comments. And so I'd ask everyone on the board to review and get back to me with
By
that.
the next meeting.
Yeah, by the next
So
meeting.
They want comments on these specific measures or
The-
on like the specific intersection?
No, the
or
specific
stretches that-
countermeasures distinct from any given intersection, right?
Okay.
So they want your thoughts on roundabouts generally,
Like if the
not,
township,
yeah,
Oh,
For
okay,
specific
not for a specific location.
okay.
but clearly the county didn't tell them when they did this plan that they would not accept the hardened center lines because they put it in the plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
So,
Grove Street, there's also proposal there. They only have Grove covered from Bloomfield to Euclid. I think that's a huge oversight. The section north of Euclid is very busy. You've got the intersection
you've
with
got a
Watchung
school
Avenue.
at the-
You've got a school at the upper end with Northeast School. Like, there's a lot that can be done on Grove. And beyond that, their recommendations for Grove are really pretty light touch. Some RRFBs, which we're already putting a ton of.
Already there.
Um,
Most of them are
a-
replacing what's already.
Yeah, a little bit of maybe intersection improvement, some enhanced traffic signals. That's all good. I don't think it's enough. And so I'd incorporate Grove, one, asking them to do the entire stretch of it. And that goes for Elm and Orange
To
Road
do what
too.
with the entire stretch?
To incorporate the entire stretch,
Oh, okay.
right?
This-
Don't just look at this 1 mile section of Grove.
Right.
And beyond that, at specific areas of concern. So for example, Orange Road, High and Irving, or the intersection with Walnut Street, where there's just a ton of pedestrian traffic. Like, we need more than just a new traffic light. We really need some interventions there. And Walnut, you've got the added complication of the train right there, and that impacts traffic flow.
And it's a block away from Chestnut.
Yep.
There's a major crossroads for
Yeah.
the high
Yeah.
school.
And
So interesting, their
Yes.
countermeasures do not include a bike lane.
no, and
They eliminated that as even a possibility.
so, and the one note I have on that, because Janice brings up a really good point. The county plan lays out at the very beginning that bicycle facilities will not be considered on county roads unless there is a quote approved bike plan created in coordination with the county. Hold on 1 second.
And they cite only one,
Correct. Bike Newark.
Newark is the only one that has an improved plan.
Yes. I need to hold on 1 sec because my battery is going to die. So I really do apologize. I will be right back.
Okay.
One approved plan?
Newark. So Newark has a bike infrastructure plan that, that they deem being okay, that they'll incorporate. And if you look through the entire, plan itself and all the different municipalities, Newark is the only one with bike lanes suggested.
I mean, we suggest bike lanes in our master plan, but we don't go into any detail. We have our map and a route. It's very,
Yeah.
very,
So my question is, what would we need to do to present to them to say, we have our own plan and get their buy-in? so
well,
that
we don't have
can
any,
also-
we don't have a detailed adopted plan. I think and when Jake gets back, I know he's looking into the level of detail that was put in the Newark plan.
It's pretty comprehensive.
Yeah, which is,
It pretty much lays out the entire network, single lane, double lane.
yeah, and ours is
sharrows.
very,
It's, yeah.
Can I ask us, maybe this is not a good question, but is there any thought about, including having a plan that sort of connects through bike lanes, Montclair with some of our surrounding towns? Like, is that an approach to take? To get them to
Well, obviously, we have the Essex Hudson Greenway, which will
Yeah.
connect, it's a bike that will connect all the towns, so that's, can't, gotta keep that in mind. So if we can connect that, and that's, we do have a plan for that.
And I feel like, that really connects on Grove Street, the street that they are suggesting, it will be a direct link to the Greenway.
Right, where, at least
The
through
Essex-
Glenridge
yeah.
Avenue, 'cause,
Yeah.
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 You're not gonna be able to connect to it directly from Grove, because it's an active train. But if you go to Glenridge
If you
Avenue,
go to Glenridge Ave, that gets you there. So
Yeah.
we're just talking what we need to do to have a complete, like, a plan or bike proposal
Yeah.
plan that will be accepted by the county.
Yeah, so I
How
have,
what we need to do.
I have been working on figuring that out. The plan does not make it clear, and I emailed Michael Baker to be like, hey, you say this line, like, what does it mean? And they were not particularly helpful. So I'm gonna try to reach out to the people in Newark who got one done, or NJTPA, who worked on the plan in Newark, to see about us getting one, because I do think we're leaving a whole bunch of options off the table on county roads if we aren't able to have any sort of bike facilities. And so that's something I'm probably gonna
So
have
my
more on for the
question is-
next meeting.
if we adopt, I mean, if we adopt a bike plan, say in a year,
Mhm.
this plan the county plan will already have been adopted. Is there the option for them to go back and amend it and include the bike lanes in their?
I'll include that in kind of the digging I'm doing to
Yeah,
figure
I think
out,
we should.
because, and for the county not to make that clear from the beginning, I think,
It's a little disingenuous.
Yeah. If you were gonna say this, like, at the start, you should have been like, hey, by the way, towns,
Yeah.
we're gonna make this really difficult unless you incorporate that. So thank you for bringing that up, Janice, the bike lane, because it was a good entree point. The last thing on the county plan, and they don't have the level of detail they have for the other two projects, is Bay Avenue, the section by the hospital, is very
Oh.
short stretch, is in Montclair, and they've got some improvements planned there. It's on the map, it's on their list, it's not in the details. And so I don't know what exactly they have.
Does it
planned
have a
for that.
number?
Number 30.
They
And
just-
so-
maybe they just haven't finished, they haven't come up with the details. for
Yeah,
number 30
that
yet.
goes through Bloomfield and Glen Ridge as well, because they're incorporating a bunch of different streets there. But the Montclair section is the Bay Avenue section.
Right,
So
okay.
what is the process for the next steps for the county state streets for all around? I know that we have a draft. Just so I'm clear, there's public hearings
There's
scheduled?
going to be public hearings. I have not seen any scheduled, but I'll find out the details
Okay.
to make sure, because we really need to be an active
Yeah.
voice on that.
But I think in October, they were saying give feedback on our drafts. But we were kind of in the midst of transitioning.
Yeah.
That we didn't really have a chance to meet as a board and talk about it.
Yeah.
So like, was that our opportunity as a municipality to object and to say we want more, or will there be other opportunities?
I'll get back to us. And what I'll make sure to do is I'll make sure to send out the county draft to everyone, so you can all send me the feedback directly, and I can collate that and work that into whatever resolution we come up with, and also communicate it to the county.
Yeah.
Well, I think if anything, we definitely need that on our local plan.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, if it's not included on the county, let's make sure. it's
The problem is our
represented
local plan cannot include county roads.
locally. But the,
Because remember, our local plan is a supplement to the counties, and it only applies to municipal roads. Yes, because the county plan is for the county roads.
so
We're
even
supplementing it with our supplemental plan for local roads.
For local roads.
So that's what-
even these roads that
So
are
it-
listed.
Yeah,
We will not have the same level of detail. in
At
our
least if
plan.
it's a county road, that's why, the county roads need to be pulled out of that.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
they're only gonna give us prioritizations, like interventions and cutouts for municipal roads, because they're the ones we can implement.
But yet,
I'm gonna make a copy
but
of that
yet,
when we're
most of
done
our
here,
roads are
because I
county
didn't,
roads.
I didn't
And we
download it,
only
and I have
get
to
those three
process it.
roads listed on their county plan that they will even propose solutions for.
Right, so
Yeah.
that's why this is,
That's why
And
we
that
have to
doesn't-
be- That's why we have to provide good feedback.
Yeah,
Right.
and that doesn't
Right.
mean that there won't be other changes in the county, right? Like, they can
Yeah.
do other changes in county roads, and like, one of the things I was talking with DCS and engineering about is, like, for example, we know the county doesn't like stop signs. County roads and stop signs do not get along. but they may be open to, for example, hawk signals. Hawk signals are those 3 light, it's 2 and then 1,
Right.
and they're basically used at quieter intersections, usually crosswalks, where you press a button to activate them. And so the county may be okay with that because it's not bringing all traffic to a stop. It's only when someone's there. And so like exploring options like that, they are more expensive, but they may be a way to
And
kind
that's
of,
not in this plan.
that's
for
not in
Grove-
this plan.
For
No,
Grove Street.
that's not in the plan for anything.
Oh.
It's just, that's me as someone who's doing this work, thinking, how can we work
Okay.
around the county's unwillingness to consider stop signs?
Okay.
What could be an
Well, I think that
alternative?
we need to put that into our response
Yeah.
to this county plan.
Yeah,
Well, and I think the other really big thing that I noticed on Grove Street, besides lack of added pedestrian support,
Yeah.
whether it's curb outs, but there's no traffic calming.
No.
None.
and that's,
And I
yeah,
think that's really one of the big issues that we're looking at. If we're going to be restriping Grove Street, we need to create traffic calming as
Yeah.
well.
You know what the county will say, that the traffic, they did the traffic calming when they narrowed, when they painted it last time and narrowed the cartways. That's what they said.
and
That's what Kim Kraft told me.
my understanding is that that did have an impact on
Yeah.
speeds from folks who live on the street.
Oh, I know.
They said the striping
It does
did
help.
have a real impact.
It does help.
That being said, it's clearly not enough.
Right,
And
right,
so-
exactly. The crossings are
Yeah.
unsafe.
And I took a walk on Grove last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, with some residents, and like it was around rush hour, and it was incredibly hard to cross the road.
Oh,
And that's even without
Yeah.
the snow, right? And
Yeah.
so, it's a tough road, and so we need more. And so I'll work up a resolution for something from the county, but make sure to send your feedback so I can incorporate that, because I really do want us to speak with a unified voice.
And I think that, in addition, like, what are things that we can present to help bolster
Yeah.
our argument? Like, is there data that we can pull locally? Is there like speed data that we can also kind of like
There's definitely speed
present
data.
with it? Like, what do we have at our disposal to make the argument stronger?
Yeah.
Can I ask you a que- I just wanna, I haven't looked at it recently. Does the county plan include Orange Road?
No. And that's the other part, right? It doesn't include Elm and it doesn't include Orange.
Yeah.
It includes about a mile of road.
No,
No,
oh, no, you're right.
it starts at Bloomfield Avenue and ends at
Yeah.
Why
Euclid.
did I
We-
think
we
it
need
went
to
beyond,
Yeah.
beyond
No,
Bloomfield Avenue?
it's
down
like
Elm?
nothing.
We really
It's-
need to address that.
Yep.
There's speeding on.
When do they
Orange
meet?
Road.
I mean,
Yeah.
even if
Sign
it's
up and go to
not
the meeting.
on the county's plan, their action plan, like, we need to have some type of backup thing that we can say, this is what we need to have done.
Yeah.
Because you're like, we
Yeah.
really need to kind of
Yeah.
bolster that.
So that's what I've got on the county SS4A.
I'm trying to figure out where.
It,
That's shocking to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at Janice, she's like, it's gotta be somewhere.
Your eyes went off.
All right.
so this is a little more big picture than the prior stuff, but I think it may touch on a lot of what we want to accomplish here at the Oversight Board. There's a concept called participatory budgeting. I'm most familiar with it, work done in Freehold Borough. And I spoke to the chair of the board there that does it. But the key idea is you set aside a pot of funds, and that pot of funds is used to implement projects selected by the community itself. So the way they do it is residents and stakeholders have a period of time in which they can submit proposals. They're run through the board, which includes consulting with the township engineer to basically make sure they're feasible and within the budget constraints. And then they're sent out to the public to gather feedback and say, what do you want to do? And they've had projects as simple as, I want a new stop sign. And so they're able to do that 15 times over because it's cheap, but they've also done splash pads and bridges over things in parks.
I don't know what that is.
A splash pad is like a kid's pool play area. So
Oh, so
water
it's not-
feature.
So it's not related to streets.
no. So the version in Freehold is just for general
In the middle of-
infrastructure
Okay.
projects. I'm thinking about it as an opportunity for streets projects. I particularly thought about it where we'd set aside a certain amount of money, essentially for each ward, where members of that community can direct how that money is allocated. I think it could be a really innovative way to incorporate public feedback on areas of concern in that area, and also channel public interest, while also helping illustrate the process, right? So much of the challenges we've had are that a lot of the work we do, whether that be on the police side or the DCS and engineering side, is hidden. It's happening in the background. And so residents have very real concerns that they don't see being addressed, even though there is a lot of work being done in the background. And I think by making it a very public process, we could illustrate that, like, look, there's all this that has happened and is happening, but it is still going to be a few months to come to shape, because government procurement and the process by which the engineering comes through. And so it's just a concept I wanted to put out there for the board to think about, as whether they see it as a good opportunity for us to implement some of these projects, right? And I'm going to note it is to an extent outside of the prioritization matrix, but I think the public engagement value of it could be really high. And so
I thought it was good until you started talking about the wards, and I'm really concerned, like, if you decide each ward needs X amount of money, and I think that we really should start thinking about this beautiful one Montclair and addressing areas that have the highest incidents that need to be addressed in priority, and go down. And
Okay.
I don't know, maybe it might come out that it's wards, and maybe it might not. And so, if I live here and everybody's getting hit and they're dying somewhere else, then take the money. I mean, assuming that there's any money to set aside, take the money and get those areas, no matter where they are, so that all of our residents are safe. We're all, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, but we need to, if all the accidents are right here, then we need to get all of these things fixed so that our streets are as safe as they can be.
I think we really need to work on public awareness so
Yes.
people know what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I feel like Austin, Roberta, you guys have been amazing in like the scope and scale of like work you've been doing. Like anything we can do to just publicize it and let people know, because people in Ward 1 aren't aware of what's going on in Ward 4 and vice versa. So I think.
But I think
One
that's
aspect.
less true than people want to. I think maybe a lot of you people come around and repeat that. But I think most people, in terms of the streets, they don't know anything. But I think the main thing we could work on that would be really efficient was to get some help for the county roads, right? Because they're all over everywhere.
Yeah.
And if we're not getting help for county streets, then what?
Well, I just want to let you know, we have 21 people participating in this meeting today.
That's
Yeah.
great.
So, Jake, great. This is a great start by
Excellent.
opening these meetings to the public and giving them the opportunity to add their comments.
And they can come in too, right? They can come
Yeah,
in
we've
and-
still got public comment. We're not
Yeah.
done, folks.
But
Yeah.
to Amy's point, I think I do have to go in a little while. I mean, any information that we can provide to residents, whether it be on a website, dedicated section of the website, when we have the final prioritization matrix, I think, I know I've been bugging you about that, to like just share the information with residents and let them know how decisions are being made
Yeah.
and give them a chance to report
Yeah.
it.
And let them know how available you are.
Oh, yeah.
Because I've seen it.
Yeah.
I've seen every day. I've seen people that email me in the morning, say 8 o'clock, and I say, well, I'm gonna switch you here. And by the afternoon, you're out there looking on the streets and working. And I appreciate that, but they should know all of that information.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, Deputy Mayor. Now, so that's closing up like new business. I've got this section of the agenda set aside for member discussion, which is basically just anyone on the board who has a matter for the board. I've just got a couple of quick things. One, I would love for everyone to come to the New Jersey Bike and Walk Summit in Princeton on March 7th. Our own Amy Beach will be presenting there about the incredible work she's been doing on Safe Routes to School, and all of us in Montclair. And it's run by the New Jersey Bike and Walk Coalition, based in our own dear Montclair, whose
How much
executive
is
director is Deb Kagan. I believe it's around $120 to attend the conference.
Can you sign up and do a Zoom and not have to pay
So
$120?
there is not a Zoom option to my
sorry.
understanding.
Can't
But
afford it.
it is,
And it's on a Saturday, right?
it is on a
It's a
Saturday, yeah, it's Saturday, March 7th.
I
And
don't
so
mind that.
encourage everyone to go. There's a ton of different stuff on Safe Routes to School, on incorporating a life after cars into our built community. Sarah Goodyear, who wrote a book to the effect, is one of the speakers. There's panels. It's great. Everyone should come. And then this is just a small thing that I wanted to highlight. It was some very quick analysis I did using a tool the township has called Urban SDK. I took a look at the Tuesday before our big snowstorm and the Tuesday after our big snowstorm. And I took a look at what the speeds were on the roads. And this is, it was really quite something. So highlighted on this table are the average speed and the 85th percentile speeds on the first Tuesday, the Tuesday before and the Tuesday after. And on these roads, Upper Mountain, Grove, Park, Elm and Orange, Valley, Harrison and Orange, there was a change of 1 to 2 miles per hour on all of them. Some of the roads, for example, Park and Harrison and Orange, you saw the average speed actually drop below the speed limit. And that's a really great thing to see. Now, what this shows us is that the narrowing down of roads and the slowing at intersections because of the plowed snow, I know DCS worked really hard to clear curb to curb and do a great job, and we appreciate that. But it's a bit of a natural experiment on how narrowing down the roads and intersections impacts driver behavior, right? It slows folks down and makes us all drive safer. And so this is just something to think about with the work we do and how the changes to our built environment can have a real impact on how we behave, regardless of who's behind the wheel. And then now I've just got, no one sent me anything for here. So I've got it, if anyone on the board has a question or concern or something they want to discuss before we go to public comment.
Yes, go ahead.
The narrowing of the road,
Yes,
there needs to be a conversation with public safety.
yes,
In this regard, how they're going to enforce, because we now have a new phenomenon of prime delivery,
yes,
Amazon delivery, and right now we have parking on both sides of the street. There's double park,
Mhm.
double parking period, but specifically that type of.
yeah,
So before or now we're discussing narrowing the road.
Yeah.
How will we navigate when these roads are being
yeah,
reduced, which means more enforcement has to be out there, whatever the case may be.
yeah.
But we can't have both. We
Yeah.
can't have narrow roads and trucks, number one.
Well, so this goes kind of full circle back to the point in the beginning about how 17% of the municipalities in the right of way, right? So that's a lot of public land. And I think one of the scarcest resources right now in Montclair is curb space. It's incredibly valuable for any number of people and reasons, whether that be a resident who wants to park their car because it's outside their apartment and they don't have a driveway, or it's the prime delivery. And so a real part of complete streets, but also enforcement, like the almost most interdisciplinary part of this is that management of the curb, right? We've got to work with the parking utility to figure out what the right pricing structure is for parking, if that's something that's going to be
And
considered.
I see
And
that separate and apart from.
I think yeah, I do disagree in that I think it's all about allocation of space, right? What Complete Streets is doing is figuring out how we allocate our roads. And so incorporating parking into that is one allocation. The pricing is a separate thing, right? But management of that curb space is part of it. And so that goes to loading zones, that goes to, is there a parking spot or just drop-offs? And so it's all tied together. But I agree, it's a real question. And specifically on the county plan, they talk about one of the major issues for Bloomfield Avenue is that double parking, is the people not following the painted and striped rules on the road. So, yeah.
Right now, I believe we have no rules for when it comes, we have the double parking. It's just a matter of enforcement, but we have nothing when it comes to home deliveries.
Yeah, and I think.
What do you mean?
I mean, the prime truck that pulls up, the UPS truck that pulls up, puts their flashers on.
Bless you.
To deliver packages.
So they're allowed to stop in the middle of the
Yeah.
road?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yes, there's no ordinance against that. We have double parking. But this type of thing,
Isn't that double parking?
I'm saying globally we have it, but this is commercial double parking.
But I mean, the laws that we have pertaining to double parking, doesn't that encompass?
I would roll it up under there personally, but this is
Well,
constant and it's going to continue to happen. That's my
Lieutenant?
point. So when we're narrowing the road.
I didn't know if you were the chief by now. But let's ask the chief, that's what I was gonna say, let's ask the chief Karen Day. Let's ask Lieutenant Karen Day.
Well, the signage around town is different for every street. I believe the most restricted is no stopping or standing, where they can't pull over, they can't drop off. They can't even just pick anything up. That's the most restrictive, correct? That's the most restrictive
So
sign.
there's no parking.
Yes.
There's no cops playing. There's no cops playing.
I have
Yeah.
seen them where they
So-
just stop in the middle of the
Yeah.
street,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
right.
But we have rules
And the
about
Glenridge
double
Avenue cycle
parking.
track.
So again, I know that the chief, they always
Oh,
mention. "Oh,
Sorry,
get out
please
there."
keep the
Okay.
door open.
Shut it.
So we don't,
Like the email from the gentleman on South Park Street.
yeah,
By the time we get out there,
Door
the
stops.
right,
car's already gone.
right.
Or a lot of it is, I don't know if it's the delivery people from that establishment there. But yeah, it's an issue everywhere. On every
But
street.
do we enforce no double parking?
Oh, we do.
Okay, so then that should answer the question. So if an Amazon truck or the liquor truck stopped in the middle of the road to run and deliver some liquor to the liquor store, Watch on Plaza, then they should be getting tickets
Just-
if we see them.
For instance, like the Uber Eats, Bloomfield Ave at North Willow,
Yeah,
we hit it every night,
yeah.
every night.
Well, and if I recall from the Vision Zero Task Force, Lieutenant Ignezzo talked about one of the challenges was if you had an officer whose sole job was to go and just circle on Bloomfield
Right,
Avenue,
Right.
they'd basically stop on every trip because
correct.
they'd write the ticket, take care of it, and then go back around and someone else would be stopped, right?
Right.
And so it's very difficult with an officer in a car to enforce with the frequency that you would need to really
Correct.
have an impact. And that goes to
But
management of the
yes.
curb space, right? So like,
Correct.
are we using it for
Correct.
long-term parking or are we
We
using
need to
it for
create
loading zones? And
Short-term
yeah,
loading, short-term
But we're
parking.
Stopping
doing,
and standing
doing
and-
that, at
and
least on the
that's-
Church Street. But it's not because we don't have the laws, it's because of other reasons that are out of our,
To-
control at this time. And I know, because whenever there's something, I know you guys are boom, 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 but a lot of times the people count on the fact that the police is not gonna catch them.
Yeah.
And you just have some angry people standing in the street and they, give them the bird and then go ahead.
Yeah.
So it's not that we don't have the laws, we do have laws.
And to the deputy manager's point, it's about driver behavior to some extent too. And when we
Yeah.
don't have the curb space, you've got the drivers who are behaving oddly, against what the law says. And I know the council
Every day,
is
yeah.
three curb
Post
space.
office,
And so,
you name it.
thank you. Yeah.
No, I was just gonna say an example with that. Tree
I'm
out,
sorry.
that kind of behavior.
Yeah.
Let me give you an example and then I'll shut up. When you drive into Glen Ridge, you hit Ridgewood Avenue, you automatically slow down.
Yep.
They probably haven't handed out a ticket in 15 years, but through past practice
Yeah.
that they're out there, and that's just a behavioral.
Yeah.
You can't speed through Glen Ridge.
Yeah.
When's the last time you saw a cop until you get to Bloomfield Avenue along Ridgewood Avenue? You don't, but you know. And if we start hitting these people hard,
We have,
constantly, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Constantly, they're gonna say, I gotta find a place to park, can't go park, they're gonna be on my butt.
Yeah.
So, and that's all part and parcel of things. That's all part and parcel. Leave it over.
was there something with those parking sticks?
Go get it.
Did they ever
Thank
come up
you.
with
Oh,
any-
yeah, with
They came up with the.
Okay.
Yeah. And so the mayor and council has been thinking about these things. And yeah, the numbers were still preliminary, but there were thousands of citations when I spoke to Sergeant Karen Dang.
Yes, I know
Um,
that.
I see 'em.
And
Yeah.
so like, there is a lot of citation.
Yeah.
If you are not someone who has received them, you may not notice it, but
Yeah,
the
all the
MPD is
time.
doing a lot of enforcement.
All
And
the
that just shows, right, how even though we're doing a ton of enforcement, it is not enough. And so and that's why we're here at Complete Streets, right? Like if writing tickets was enough, we wouldn't be meeting, but we know that it's not. And so, thank you, Deputy Manager.
So my question,
Yeah.
was that when does the county have their meetings for Complete Streets? And, I think that, I'd like to attend, and I think others should attend. I say that because when we finally, get to some of the meetings, like Janice and I get to, then like West Orange and East Orange, they've
Yeah.
been going to them regularly, so
Yeah.
they've got a whole bunch of attention. So can we get on their mailing list so we know when they have their meetings about their, about the county streets, and we're at the table?
I will pull all of that and I will distribute it, Mayor.
Thanks. I
Of
would really
course.
like to go.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No problem. Thank you, Brad. Okay, so that's what I've got from,
No.
oh, yeah. That's all I've got for members. I'd like to open the floor for public comment now. If you could raise your hand in the chat, and I will call on you to speak. And I'd like everyone to keep it to 3 minutes, please. I am not seeing, oh, wait, hold on.
Deirdre.
Deirdre. Oh, Susan? I'm guessing this.
Oh, you.
Hi,
can see
Deirdre.
that?
Go ahead.
Hi, thank you for doing this, first of all. And I just wanted to say that I put a lot of all my thoughts in the chat. So
Yeah.
that would be those would be my comments.
Wonderful.
So you could just read through that. The chat is saved, right?
Yeah, it should be. I'm recording and transcribing the whole meeting, and so I should have it all, but
Okay.
I'll also make sure
In
to
that
note
case,
it down.
all my thought is there. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for participating. Anyone else?
There's somebody in person.
Oh, please. Hi.
And I apologize if I'm misaddressing what your duties are.
Sure.
And what my question is, I
Yeah.
was told about this meeting, so, with the, snow removal.
Yes.
On the streets, is there a way to have more transparency on what the schedule is? And I guess there is a lot of feedback from several people about the beeping that they do that they don't find necessary at 3 a.m. If they're going to do it and they feel like, the middle of the night when the street is clear, it kind of makes sense because
Mhm.
people don't like it, but, it has to
Yeah.
be done. But why it has to beep at the same time,
So-
I guess that was I don't mind it actually. I
Yeah.
went to sleep through it, so, but.
Funnily enough, it woke me up last night. They got my street last night, and I was like, what is this rumbling sound? I thought my house was shaking.
Oh, I know.
It was them trying to move the snow, and so I very much appreciate them having to do it. I'll defer to the director of DCS on the schedule question and process, because he's going to better be able to address that.
Schedule is coordinated through the public director of
Communications.
communications. So that is up there, posted on the website. Mass emails went out. As far as the sound, we can't do anything about the sound of the machinery, and the backup alarms are required by Oversight. So we're required to have those. That's a safety precaution. So the fact that you heard them is unfortunately evidence that it is working.
Okay, no, I didn't know if that was messages didn't seem like a, part of cleaning necessary, and a lot of people seem very disturbed by it, but, come on, Claire.
We're trying to get through it as fast as we can.
Okay, but so when you said there's mass emails sent out, who is that sent to? Because a lot of residents are unfamiliar. I didn't know when my street was gonna be done.
There's a sign up, you can sign up for the townwide email.
Yeah.
I do get that, but I never saw my street name on there, and my perpendicular street wasn't, this is kind of, to me, I'm glad my street is done, but my perpendicular street wasn't done, and that seems a little odd why you have to come down that street to come to my street.
So I think I may be able to help here, which is that because they're uncertain of how long any given street is going to take, they aren't able to say, we're doing Vincent Place on Tuesday. What they have done is they've broken the town up into, I think, 3 sections, and they're doing those sections. And they detailed what week those sections would be addressed. You can confirm that Austin, yeah, Austin can confirm that, and you can talk to Matt. So the email said, we're doing north of Bloomfield Avenue and south of Watchung Avenue, or something to that effect on this week. It didn't say we're doing this street on Tuesday, because they just don't know how long any given street is gonna take.
Yeah, or if there's like a way that what the map is that they're doing, so then if you see, oh, that was done yesterday, I can expect mine to be done today. If there's something, I'll just, and I'm just, trying to, I don't know how to say this a little nicer, and this is no attack on anybody here. Some people feel that some streets are not given the priority given their taxes. I mean, they're not given the same kind of priority based on the demographics of the street. So I'm just saying it's a feeling that several people have said, and so I feel like if you just kind of say what to expect, people don't feel less disenfranchised, like they're not getting.
Understood.
So I don't know, if there's a way of doing that, because I get to see, and I see it says they're working on it.
Mhm.
I didn't see the thing saying above Bloomfield Avenue.
That was a generalization. There's
Oh,
specific
okay.
languages in there. I'm not sure exactly how they phrased it, but they
Okay.
broke it up into sections, and the focus was gonna be on those different sections at those different weeks. So you can check your email. If you email whatever, you should be able to email the communications director, I think. And he can probably provide more specifics on like what that content was.
Yeah,
But,
just
yeah.
as far as dissemination, I mean, I'm happy to help with the dissemination
Yeah.
of information, but, I just didn't know if that's something that is disseminated to some, and then is it possible to expand that to residents, not
Yeah.
just people in the know,
Yeah.
so people feel like they're, they know what's going on,
Yeah.
And, I guess the other question I had was that if people have, if the street has, like the gentleman was talking about with the Amazon truck, the street is very narrow and they
Mhm.
feel like there should be some different rules on the street or something like that. Who do they address aside from, and the counselor, but like who does that come to you?
So you're welcome to share it with me. Ultimately, the mayor and council make decisions about what streets have on them, whether that be one-way streets, parking, whatever it may be. That's ultimately in the hands of the mayor and council. And so definitely send it to me. I will annoy them with it and say, hey, this resident suggested, this street has problems. The mayor hears from me all the time.
Good almost.
And so, I'm happy to take that feedback and incorporate it. But ultimately, that is a decision that rests with the mayor and council.
Okay, because the purpose of not parking after 2 a.m.,
2 a.m.
Is to clean the street, is that right? Or is that for what? Is that the reasoning behind it? Or is that for
Do you mean
safety
overnight parking?
or?
No overnight parking.
Yeah. I'm just trying to understand what the purpose of it is. Because it's becoming a problem. Parking is a huge problem. I think everybody knows it's a huge problem in Montclair. So why we're doing that, because then some people are saying, well, if it's to clean the streets, I've yet to see a street cleaner,
So
right?
there's really no one quick answer to that
Okay.
with you, and I can just discuss the history and the longevity. And for decades, people that moved to Montclair came here for a more suburban feel, and they liked to be able to drive through the streets and not have to worry about people jumping out from under cars to cause them harm. They like to be able to go down the streets and see the taken care of properties and different things. It's a different feel, a suburban feel versus maybe where you go and people are parked on their front lawn, people are back. So that's a reason. What you already talked about, that's another reason. And a lot of people feel, safer not having to walk past cars in the dark and worry about somebody perhaps hiding or using that. So there's a lot of different reasons.
Okay.
And what's going on now is probably counter to what a lot of people historically have desired in Montclair. It's just this year that people started letting people have all this freedom to park every which kind of way. And just as many people that are complaining about nowhere to park, are many people complaining about, what the heck, I came here, you know, so I can have a safe feel in this suburban community. Now it looks like, I'm not gonna name the places, but some of our surrounding, more urban community, and they hate it. So it's about trying to find a balance and not, you know, you have to listen to all of the needs, but it's a long-standing history. This is the first time that there's been a council and it's been so freely given up, you know, the ability for people to park. It is on the streets. And I know as far back as 08, and before that, it was just unheard of. You couldn't park between 2 and 6, period, boom. And then the councils that have been here historically have been leaning more towards trying to preserve a more suburban feel. And now this council here is doing something new.
Okay. No, I,
Thank
you know, and I live in, I'm speaking for other people, so I
Yeah.
can't speak for myself, you know, like I'm trying to just give back some information to some people who feel like, you know, it's difficult for them when, you know, certain places are where I privileged that I have a driveway.
Yeah.
And I have,
No, we
you know, I
hear it
can park
all.
from it, you know, all of that, so I'm not, so I don't want to say any specifics because
Sure.
it's not me. If it was me,
But
could
it's
give
everybody, but
specifics,
it is, that is a global problem. Parking in Montclair is a
Yeah.
global. We have a couple of groups now that are taking time on the council to review them and to, you know, suggest and then talk to the council and try to figure out, you know, that there's not a one size fits all. Let's look at this street independently. Let's look at that. And we're making some adjustments. I would suggest that there are very specific things that you or other people that speak to you say, that you send that email to all the council members. In addition, to Director Neiman here and, you know, to Ashley, we're all gonna get them. I'm just telling you,
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah, no, I didn't know
it's
if
not
this was
any
like
one person can, you know,
part of
but
it.
we take it seriously. We hear you, we hear all the complaints, and I think it's a beautiful thing that we are now doing individualized things. We're not saying you just can't park because the law says no parking. The law does say no parking between 2 and 6. We're not saying that. We're saying let's hear from the residents and try to figure out what the needs are today in 2026 in Montclair.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your time. I'm sorry, that was over.
I wanna, we just need to make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do we have a second? Lovely. Thank you,
And
everyone.
thank you. Great
I really
meeting.
appreciate you
Yeah.
toughing it out and sticking around.